Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Chazzy, the segment on this channel where I give you guys reviews of the many television series that I watch over the years, or have watched, better speaking, the old ones, the newer ones, the normal ones, the strange ones, one season, multiple seasons, you guys know how it is, And today I'm actually going to be reviewing one that is actually based on a book of the same name by this woman named Daria Politan, or Daria Politan, something I've never heard of her, but that's her name, And this series here is actually, the name kind of implies something much more dark than what the series actually delivered. I finished it recently. There are only 8 episodes and it is called Devil in Ohio, and hey, it should be kind of obvious because I literally just said that it was released recently, but it came out in 2022. I just wanted an excuse to put the little title there up here on screen so it looks a little cool, but anyway, so it is a limited series, which I guess is synonymous with mini series, where I believe that there is no intention of doing another season, and if there is, it's going to be it's going to be disconnected, to the first season, so maybe it'll be an anthology. But there are currently 8 episodes, ranging anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes long each, so there is a lot of content packed in there, and it stars, of course, the very lovely Emily Deschanel, older sister of Zoe Deschanel, both of whom I love very much as actresses. One of them, the younger one, looks a lot like Katy Perry. That's kind of funny. But anyway, so the story follows a family, who lives in a pretty rural town in Ohio, and one of the main characters is named Suzanne Mathis, who is the matriarch of the family and works in a hospital, as a psychiatrist. There's her husband Peter Mathis, who is I think he's a real estate developer or something. No, he's a real estate developer. He makes houses and stuff. And they actually have 3 daughters. I believe 2 are biological. We have the oldest one, who is Helen, who is kind of like she's a closeted homosexual, because every show now feels the need to insert some kind of LGBT character representing the community, even if they kind of shoehorn it in a way that doesn't make sense. I have a bit of a bone to pick with that, not to sound homophobic, but maybe I'll address that in another video. Then we have Jules, who's the middle sister, who is still in high school, and she's going through that angsty teen phase of not getting along with her parents and her friends, this and that, and she gets a little popular working with photography. And then we have Danny, who is the adopted daughter, obviously, because, well, she's Asian. There's no way to justify that, but she's aware that she's adopted, and so the series follows that family there. And the thing is that one day a girl turns up in the hospital where Suzanne works, very catatonic and not able to speak with anybody, with an inverted pentagram carved onto her back. It's a very grisly scene. And then she sparks the interest, of Suzanne, who starts to investigate it further, and eventually she starts to bond with the girl, who opens up more to her, feels more comfortable with her, and eventually she brings her to her house to kind of temporarily keep her there, so they can find her a foster home, and that's essentially what kickstarts the events. The problem is that we find out later that she actually came from the rural community called Amontown, just next door, and for many years there, it's been rumored to be part of a satanic cult, but nobody can get close enough to investigate, because of all this stuff about, religious freedom issues, and, there's a very, very protective county sheriff, so it's very hard for reporters and, detectives to get there to investigate, but obviously, you can't just bring a member of a cult into your house and not expect things to get crazy, so events start to transpire, with May's presence there, which go deeper and deeper as the series goes on. And before I continue and actually break apart a few of the episodes, let's take a look at a clip here from the show.
What's her name?
Has no ID. Cops couldn't get a statement.
Believe me, the show itself is not as spooky as that clip there shows, This is billed primarily as a suspense thriller series, but honestly, it starts off really well, but as the episodes go on, it starts to get less and less frightening, There are a few unsettling moments here and there, because it is about, Satanism and cults and stuff, but it felt very PG-13. But anyway, so here's the thing. Another one of the main characters is Detective Lopez, who is actually assigned to her case, The girl's name, by the way, is May. She only gives her first name. We don't know her last name or anything else. She's played by this actress named Madeline Arthur, who I actually have only seen in this and also the sitcom Blockbuster. So two completely different genres, and yet she seemed to be typecast as this very strange outcast girl. You know, it just seems, I don't know, maybe it's, I don't know if it's the actress or the characters that she plays that come off as a tad bit eccentric, you know, almost kind of creepy, but still, she acted pretty well in this one here, you know. At the beginning, she was very creepy, but as she gets integrated more into the household and eventually gets enrolled into the school and starts to slowly become a normal high school kid, you know, it does start to, I don't know, she starts to have a very, it seems like a very quick transformation, you know. But of course, nobody can ignore the pentagram on her back, and eventually Jules, who's actually working with photography for the school paper, takes a photo of her showing that, you know, and you know, it spreads around the school. She becomes popular because people think that she was an a victim of abuse or something, you know. So she slowly starts to become more popular than Jules, despite trying her best to be nice to her and trying to fit in and always trying to get along with everybody, you know. But in the background throughout all of this, throughout Suzanne's, you know, Detective Lopez is investigating and Suzanne also trying to understand and sleuth, you know. May is gathering certain family heirlooms from their house, you know, items that are important to them, and sort of making a little shrine outside on a tree trunk, and apparently it's kind of like a wishing well of sorts, you know, because she's wishing for her to stay with the family and not have to go back to hers, you know. Apparently she's wanting Satan to grant her a wish or something. Her family is actually the one that lives in that rural community of Amon Town, and they are Satanists, they are devil worshippers, you know. So apparently she was next in line to be sacrificed, you know, for the greater good, and breaking the chain is very frowned upon in that community, so she ran away. And we are led to believe throughout the episodes that she ran away because, you know, she couldn't take it anymore. She didn't want to be part of it, you know, so she found a refuge. We see the county sheriff, you know, constantly, you know, poking around and stalking and trying to find her and bring her back, you know. He and the detective go at it a few times. There are a few moments that make things seem a little unsettling, you know. May in the household, when she goes to say a prayer, she actually prays to Satan, you know, and everybody's like, well, what the hell? So now her family dynamic with the actual family, you know, and at first she gets along with the girls, but then slowly they start to kind of drift apart a little bit, you know, especially when Jules starts to kind of get a little shunned in school. The whole teen drama thing, you know, where her best friend stops talking to her and then they reconcile, you know, pretty much the same old, same old. There's really nothing new to see here, but the thing is that there are some episodes that really give us a peek into what it's like as, you know, cultists, you know, the way that they present themselves and how they, you know, have very extremist ways of thinking and how they are very isolated from the rest of the world. May has a brother named Enoch who is sent out to find her and bring her back, you know, disguising himself as a regular teenager. So, and then Danny at one point, you know, there's like a Halloween trick or treat thing where she has asthma, but she forgets her inhaler at home, and then she barely makes and goes to the hospital, and that is also a catalyst for a few events, you know, for May to come in and show that she cares. But May is built up in the audience's eyes as this girl who escaped from something very, very terrible and just wants to, you know, get away from it all and be a normal kid. She goes to the school dance towards the end of the show, you know, and I almost thought it was gonna be like a Carrie-esque moment where somebody pulls a prank on her and she goes on a rampage or something, but no, it actually does pretty okay. But because she was part of the cultist, there are a few triggers, you know, that kind of make her kind of brainwash herself back to wanting to return, you know, and do her part. But, you know, that all starts to get more fleshed out as the episodes go on. Before I continue, let's take a look at another clip here from the show.
We're waiting for a foster home to open up, so she's going to stay with us.
Your kindness, it's too much.
You deserve it.
Get what's coming.
You brought her home with you? I couldn't abandon her. She's been through so much trauma. It's important that May feels safe here.
And so the suspense continues all the way through until it doesn't, until it just sucks and pulls the rug out completely from under you, man. Holy freaking crap. But anyway, so now here's the thing. There are a few more intense scenes, you know, that actually show us flashbacks of what, you know, May was going through in her family. She was being prepared for some kind of ceremony, you know, which we assume is the sacrifice, you know, or at least something having to do with taking her blood or something. Because it's a cult that worships Satan, I already imagined that, you know, she ran away because she didn't want to be sacrificed to him, you know, which is what these crazy ass cult members all always do. But then towards the climax, you know, Detective Lopez, you know, despite his superior not wanting him to dig too deep into this case, he ultimately goes to the field, he investigates, you know. There's another deputy on the case, you know. I think she's a deputy. She's like a co-worker, but also a very clear love interest. You know, they go out for dinner and coffee and stuff, you know, on stakeouts, and they start to investigate together. And the series finally builds to a crescendo when, you know, events transpire and, you know, things in the Mathis household hit fever pitch levels. You know, the dad is having problem with work, you know, Peter, and Suzanne is also collapsing herself. We see flashbacks of Suzanne herself probably having escaped from a cult when she was younger, you know, and that's why she's so familiar with it, even though she kind of plays it off like she's not, you know. Eventually she ironically goes to see a shrink herself, you know, to kind of put out her thoughts and memories of that incident, you know. So everything starts to come full circle. Eventually Peter and the girls, they leave to go somewhere else in a house that he designed, or an apartment complex, you know, so they can just leave Suzanne and May alone. But the events that transpire to lead up to that are what are interesting, you know, because the show does have a very interesting twist ending, you know, because after Detective Lopez and the deputy investigate a little more, you know, this thing about an SUV that was found at a scene and crashed, you know, a lot of events happen. May is ultimately rescued by Suzanne from her own family, you know, she apparently went back, you know, a white flower triggered her at the dance in the school to go back, you know, like she was brainwashed or something, and then she goes there, and then they are about to sacrifice her. But then when she's up there, the platform starts to catch fire, and her mom, May's actual biological mom, takes her place, you know, and she literally just allows herself to burn in the flames and die so she can, you know, appease Satan, and everybody worships and this and that. Suzanne rescues May and goes back. But then that's when we discover that, you know, Detective Lopez has been investigating the case, and he finds a few interesting details that May actually hid a bouquet of white roses or white flowers, you know, somewhere near the school, so she herself could grab them and hold them and pretend like she was triggered, you know. It was all a ploy. She was the one who set it up. So she was the one who wanted Suzanne to rescue her. She wasn't brainwashed. She willingly went back to the cult, knowing what was gonna happen and knowing that Suzanne was gonna come and find her and take her home, you know. Whether or not she was expecting her mom to take her place, I don't know. But then basically we find that, you know, May pretty much orchestrated the whole thing. You know, the issue was about her wanting to be with Suzanne and wanting to do, you know, anything that in her power to keep her with her, you know. She became very attached to her, almost like a leech, you know, and she didn't want to let go. And then Suzanne realizes this, you know, and she just looks at May terrified, like, you know, who is this person here? I really don't know anything about her, you know. And that's kind of essentially the cliffhanger that we end on, you know. But then, you know, May is very grateful for having achieved what she wanted, you know, so ultimately she just sits down with Suzanne so they can eat and say, hey, we deserve this, you know, and Suzanne just goes with it. But now she knows the truth, she knows what's up, but she still continues to play along, you know. So essentially, you know, the camera pans away there and we see another shrine. We see a photo of Suzanne in the center, and then it's overlapped by a photo of May. Not really sure what this means, but apparently it seems like May got her wish, you know, where she was hoping that, you know, Satan would grant her, I think it's Satan, you know, that she was wanting to get the wish from, or Lucifer, those are the same characters. You know, she got her wish granted, and then she just has Suzanne all to herself, you know, despite the family having been alienated now because of her. Nobody wants to be near May. She's bad news, so it's literally just May and Suzanne living in the house. And now before I finish, you know, and give you the final verdict, let's take a look at yet another clip.
The Amon County case. The sheriff said they didn't find anything.
Do you remember seeing anything having to do with satanic worship?
What do you think it means?
It's a cult.
Everything's changed.
Look, I gotta be honest here, alright? I like the show, okay? I'm not saying that it was horrible. It is watchable. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but bro, it's very rare for me to be so disappointed, you know, because like I really thought this was gonna be a lot heavier, you know? Like, okay, I'm not a very big fan of excessive blood, gore, and violence, and even Satanism, because I was raised a Christian, you know, I do have a religious background, so in a way, it's cool how, you know, it was sort of like PG-13, you know, it was very mellowed down, but at the same time, I was expecting something much darker than what I actually got, you know? I really thought the show, based on the synopsis, you know, about a family finding a freaking devil worshipping cult in the middle of Bumfreak, Ohio. I really thought it was gonna be much more dynamic, you know. Hey, the cast is very good. I love the actors and actresses. Everybody like played their roles really well. Even Madeline Arthur, although like I said before, not a very big surface area for me to scratch there, you know. I've had a very small sample size of her whatever, I don't know, the movies or TV shows, her career, you know, but still, she was pretty okay, you know. She did give off a few unsettling vibes, but still, I was expecting a lot more, you know, because I like suspense, I like horror, I like elements of mystery, you know, and also I do enjoy a good thriller every once in a while. And like I said, the show started off very well. There were some episodes that were actually that actually had very good pacing. The overall pacing of the show was excellent, you know. I cannot complain about that. 8 episodes and nothing ever felt too fast or too slow. Everything moved along very nice, you know. Really good cinematography as well, you know. The soundtrack, you know, when the music kind of builds to a crescendo and kind of gets into a low growl sometimes to give you the essence of spookiness. Very atmospheric. I really did like it, you know. The show is not unwatchable, but I honestly expected a lot more, you know. Just the title itself, Devil in Ohio. I expected, okay, so if we started to see demons and stuff popping up out of nowhere, it would be a very cringy, but still, I mean, I just wanted to see something, you know. It's like Paranormal Activity, where you expect the demon to show up and it never does, you know. But then again, Paranormal Activity did a very good job with the psychological, you know, horror, the suspense, you know. So honestly, not even a comparison there. But still, my final verdict, you know, the show was good, it was enjoyable, it really is definitely worth a watch, but because it did not even come close to my expectations, much less surpass them, I'm gonna have to give Devil in Ohio a 7 out of 10. That is my final rating, you know. If you have Netflix and you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out for yourself, you know. But just know, aside from all the spoilers that you gave yourself by watching this video, just know that it's not the greatest, you know. It really could have been, it had such an interesting concept, you know, a very good idea, and then trying to pull the rug out from under us at the end, showing that May was actually behind everything, you know. She went to great lengths to keep Suzanne to herself, but we never really understand exactly why she is so obsessed with Suzanne in the first place, you know. Maybe because she kind of represents a motherly figure to her, in contrast to her own biological mother, who was a freaking Satanist, you know. So maybe that's it. Maybe because Suzanne herself was maybe a victim of the cult when she was younger, you know, maybe they have some kind of connection. But we're only gonna find out if there ever is a second season. But if not, my review of the first and so far only season is what you guys are gonna get. Pretty okay, I liked it, but ultimately, man. So anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below if you've seen this show and what you thought about it. And if you haven't, I'm sorry for having spoiled it for you, but the title of this video is literally Devil in Ohio Review, so you should have known that there would have been some spoilers, so that's on you. And if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too to know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good, guys. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the final clip and then the outro screen, or just the outro screen, I don't know.
You would never betray me, would you, Suzanne?